Wisconsin. Number 5, Mason Jackson out of Battle Creek, Michigan. 15 is Justin Messina from Kingwood, Texas. 34, Chance Kimmy out of Union City, PA. 48, Grant Olson from Whitehall, Wisconsin. 62, Wyatt Frogs from Petersburg, Indiana. 69, Parker Roaring from Nashport, Ohio. Ian Juka, the 71 on the all-task construction rated MX back machine. And the 409, Chase Richards out of Burlington, Iowa.
A lot of young talent out here, Rodney. This 90 shifter 8 to 11 class. This is, one of the hotbeds of where these kids are really learning the ropes. They start off on these CVT machines, and it's a little bit easier machine to ride. This is one of their, first experiences to get out there and have a clutch and have to shift these things. And these are basically just scaled down versions of what we just saw our pro riders out there. Now, granted, these are 2 strokes and they sound like bumblebees, but they're still very much similar to what we see our top pro and pro-am riders on. So these guys are, this is kind of their first big stepping stone up to the big leagues.
Something interesting to point out, Brett Musick not in the whole practice. I think he might have missed a few minutes of that practice. It says a 20-minute lap time for him on that last time around, so that's an indication that he didn't make it very long or very far on the second qualifier, but he got his rights there with the first qualifier. Mason Jackson's picking up all the rights right now as he takes the lead, a 1-second lead over the 71 of Ian Juka. You can see these two battling right now as they go out of sight for just a moment, Johnny.
Oh, look at this. And we see it just on screen there. He spins around backwards. Now that was our second place rider. He's dropped to 3rd, now dropped to 4th, now dropped to 5th. That is the number 71 of Ian Juka. And now it leaves the leader all alone out front, and that is the number 5 of Mason Jackson. Is he leading the way now?
He most certainly is, with Justin Messina moving up into 2nd aboard the 15. The number 3 of Jaden Launderville is 3rd. Grant Olson, the 48, in 4th. And I believe Parker Roaring got by as well aboard the 69. So that would put him in the number 5 spot. I think Juka might have dropped to 6. We'll double check that as they check into the finish line here in a moment for the 90 shifter 8 to 11 class. It looks like that's what we're about ready to do right now. It's Mason Jackson trying to lead him around. He's been followed again by Messina, Launderville, Olson, Roaring, and don't forget, Juka's back there also. And Juka's a fast mover. He can make up some ground real fast, even in these conditions.
Yeah, it looks like he's having to run some outside lines, though, Rodney. Again, those slick conditions, you can see the rider in front of him taking a look back over his shoulder. He's having to pull a tear off there. These conditions make it really tough to follow and even tougher to pass. And he's got a couple of riders stacked up behind him, too. So if he's not doesn't get going here in a hurry, he might lose a couple more spots. That spin out really costly for him. I'm sure he's going to learn his lesson from that one.
Well, as you can see, the track is holding up quite nicely with the sprinkles coming down.
Oh, look at that. We've got some contact there between Juka and the rider in front of him, and then he ends up taking down one of our Cherubies track markers in the process. That's okay. That's why we use those kind of passive track markers rather than hay bales or something. And he sees you take that outside line. He's really trying hard to get around, but not having much luck at this point. Again, I think vision is a big factor here.
Boy, Juka really making up some ground out there, it looks like, aboard that 71 machine as he keeps the hammer down. We check in here in just a moment with your leader, which should be still the number 5 of Mason Jackson. He got a big break with that little spin out there by the 71 machine, but nonetheless, Jackson actually has now a 5-second lead over Justin Messina. Messina and Juka were battling for 2nd whenever we saw the spin arounds. What happened? Jaden Launderville in 3rd. Juka is 4th aboard the 71. Roaring in 5th. Grant Olson in 6th. Chance Kimmy in 7th. He's the 34. Chase Richards, Formula 409, is in 8th. And Wyatt Frodge, the 62, is 9th place.
This is the corner where Juka had his problems last time. Let's see if he can hang on to it this time. Oh, no! He does it again, spins out, gives up another position. He was able to not go completely round backward this time, but definitely, unfortunately for Juka, did not learn his lesson the first time on that one. He's trying that inside line. There's just no grip there. You got to give the boy credit for wanting it, but at some point you got to weigh out your options and figure if you don't have the grip, you can't make the pass.
Well, those are certainly lessons being learned here for that young rider. Now, the 71 machine out of Allentown, Pennsylvania, brought to you by All Task Construction, as well as Rated MX, Rage, ATV, Hetrick Racing, FTR Power Sports, Fly Racing.
Oh, look at this. I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt you, Rodney, but we've got, looks like Parker Roaring has now taken over the 3rd place spot. If that is in fact him, hard to read that number, but it was the rider who was in 5th, is now to 3rd. So on the, Look.
I believe Jackson is still leading this. He's about 6 or 7 seconds out. That Justin Messina, the number 15, is your second place position. The battle for second wages on as we get set to wrap up lap number 3. Here's where the tape is going to be told here in just a few moments. And right now, across the front section, the spectator section here.
Yeah, that is third. Second place there is just in our screen in front of us now. Here comes third. As we were thinking there, that is the... I can't get a number on him, but I believe that should be Parker Roaring, the number 69. And then it looks like this. Look at this. Now Juka has lost those goggles. He's got them hanging on his arm there. And again, the vision really becoming a problem as these guys check in here. We should have Mason Jackson checking in here any moment at the completion of lap number 3. Now we see it looks like Roaring also pitching his goggles. He's got them on his arm. So we've got, Mason Jackson, Justin Messina, 1-2 with a 5.8 second gap between him. Parker Roaring has moved up into third. Jamie Louderville will now be in fourth, and then Ian Juka is in the 5th place spot. So it's been a tough couple laps for Juka, and you can see 2 of the 3 of these guys, no goggles. They're hanging on their left arm. They're just yard ornaments at this point, Rodney.
Well, Juka's shown us some major speed over the last couple of rounds of racing, and don't be surprised to see him turn things around, if not in this in Moto 2 tomorrow. But a 5th place position amongst the riders he's racing against in this 90 shifter 8 to 11-year-old class. That's pretty good, believe it or not. I mean, that's top of the class there as far as I'm concerned. The fast lap right now turned by Mason Jackson at 2:22.9. Right now, Juka is in the 2:27 range, but so is Jaden Launderville just ahead of him. And Parker Roaring at a 2:23.
And he tried to run it in there again. This is where they got together last lap. He's really had a heck of a time trying to get around Lauderviller. And, it's been 3 laps now, Rodney, that they've been battling over that spot. We've had Parker Roaring work his way up and work around both of them, pull away quite a bit. Looks like, he gives it another shot, but once again comes up short. He's just really having a heck of a time trying to make a move on Launderville.
Well, they continue to try to make those moves, and we watch them work through the soils of Indiana. Some beautiful dirt. I mean, there's rocks out there, I'm sure, but man, there's not many rocks in that dirt on this motocross track anyway.
No, you said it, Rodney. I mean, the conditions are absolutely great out there as far as all the material they've hauled in. They really wanted to make this not only one of the finest motocross tracks in the country, but one of the finest in the world. And I think for anybody here today or anybody that's seen this place, you really can't argue that. Some picturesque views, some great racing surfaces, and, it really is in what I consider to be the hotbed of all kinds of racing action, and that's Indiana. Yes. Just a stone's throw from here, obviously, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, synonymous with speed, synonymous with racing, and so many things going down in this area. Obviously, the way this property was founded was the late great Bob Sloan, was from the town of Crawfordsville, a multi-time race winner and champion in the GNCC series. His nickname was the Ironman because he used to race on Saturdays on an ATV, and then he would come back and race again on Sundays on a dirt bike. So they, decided he was the Ironman. I understand in ATV MX, John Natale is the Ironman, and for good reason. He certainly earned that name. But this facility, this race, everything here is named after Bob Sloan. Not sure if his family was able to make it out this weekend. I know they oftentimes are able to make it out for the GNCC. They're fans of ATVs. They're fans of motorcycles, despite, having lost a loved